look at you.
Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome. It is Wednesday, October 7th, 2020, and I am just west of Houston, Texas, with a very special couple named Cory and Catherine Kruse. And we first had talked back in, I think it was February, and did some ministry and got to know them over those conversations. And then I know that you had followed the ministry, and things have happened since then. So what we're going to basically do is talk about life and what was life like for you guys when you were growing up, and we'll get into what you're hearing in the background. Just to let you know, is there are people shooting guns, but they're not shooting at us. So we're safe.
There's a couple of gunfights going on around us, but yeah.
We're safe. It's fine.
We have this protective barrier.
Holy Spirit bubble.
Yes, they can't penetrate. So this is actually a gun range. I should have said that beforehand, where we're at, so you guys are aware. And how big is this place?
500 acres.
500 acres.
You can literally see Williams Tower from one of the main sporting place courses.
Really?
So
Wow.
from where we're at out in Katy, to be able to see Williams Tower, that's all the way in at Loop 610 on the west side of town. So
Okay.
it's pretty
Wow.
neat. You know, being that close to downtown Houston, it's pretty much just like a mecca of shooting sports out here.
Okay.
Pretty amazing. I'd say probably one of the third largest gun clubs
Really?
in the entire country right here.
Wow.
And this gun club's actually made of 3 centers, so that's why it's American Shooting Centers, where we have sporting clays, then we have rifle and pistol, and
Okay.
then we have track and skeet,
Okay.
and then as well as police down over there.
Awesome.
So there's 3 main centers. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And I'll say this to everyone, that Cory won the world championship for shooting, sport, what's it called, World English.
Yeah, it's so World English Sporting Clays is the I guess the correct terminology. English Sporting Clays. It's kind of like you take the terminology is pretty watered down, but like a lot of people say a skeet target. Well, that's just a clay target,
Okay.
by my definition. But
Yep.
so if you were to take a sporting clay target or a skeet target, or just like I said, a clay target, and have say 12 to 15 different stations, similar to like a hole on a golf course.
Yep.
Sporting clays course,
Yep.
a golf course, and that's kind of what sporting clays is. Each station has a pair of targets. You shoot that pair, you move on to the next one, and then typically
Okay.
you'll have a round of 100 targets.
Okay.
And you're based on how many you hit. And so at the World English Sporting Clays targets, or English Sporting Clays Championship, it's 200 targets over two days,
Wow.
plus a 25 target super final. So they'll take the 5 top scores. You shoot another 25 shots in front of a big crowd, and whoever's leading after that point wins. And that happened to be me in 2019.
Wow, 2019, and because of COVID, they didn't have it this year. He gets to carry the title for another year. So
By default, so yeah. That'd be cool to add that to the resume, but everybody goes,
yes. So tell our viewers, for you guys, where did you guys grow up? What was life like when you grew up? And we'll go from there.
Ladies first.
Thanks. Well, grew up, born in, I guess, Tucson, Arizona. My dad built water parks, so started in California. All of
Okay.
our family's in California, and then moved to Arizona in the desert. Built
Okay.
a water park out there. That's where I was born. And then came here for the water park business when I was 6.
Okay.
And then dad retired out of that when I was about 18, and then got into the firearms industry full time.
Okay.
But yeah, just pretty much born and raised, I guess. I consider myself a Texan, even though I wasn't born here. I feel like I married one, so I'm like grandfathered.
And brothers and sisters? How many?
Yes, I have one older brother.
Okay. All right. And Cory.
I grew up in a small East Texas town called Willis, Texas, just north of Conroe. If anyone's like a Houston viewer,
Yep.
if you know where Lake Conroe is, Willis is just east of Lake Conroe.
Okay.
Grew up there, then pretty much lived there my entire life until started getting older. Spent some time living out north of Austin, lived in Louisiana for a while, and now me and my wife live just south of Austin in Wimberley.
Okay. Alrighty. And so growing up, for both of you guys, involvement in church, what was anything like that? What was that like in life in high school and so on?
Go ahead.
There you So yeah, I grew up in a Baptist home. We went to church every Sunday morning, Sunday evening. Wednesday night, my mom was actually like a secretary for I don't know if just one of the ministers within the church. So I mean, we were at church a lot. At my grandparents, same thing. So yeah, growing up in the church, and I mean, I guess a lot of people want to be so careful with their words, but hear my heart on this. It's nothing. There's not any way of throwing dirt on any sort of religion or Baptist, Methodist, any of that sort of stuff. But it was fear-based Christianity.
Yeah.
It's like if you can't walk the line, you're not gonna you're not gonna be accepted into heaven. And so as a child, it was walking that line. And then just my parents. My mom and dad split up before I was old enough to know. My mom remarried whenever I was roughly 3 years old.
Okay.
Great parents though. My mom, my stepdad, just wonderful. My real dad, also wonderful. And went to church on, no matter where I was at. So raised in a very strong Christian family. But just the literature that I had learned growing up. More or less scared me into it rather than really showed me the heart of a father.
Yeah.
And there's no, I guess a lot of people could take it as like, oh, we had daddy issues or something like that. Well, maybe I did, but I don't know that they did anything different than the best that they could.
Right.
So
Sure.
there's nothing against that, but no.
Yeah.
Growing up in church, it was more fear based and
more religion probably.
Yeah.
Relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And so, as I got older and into high school and, just kind of took a different path. I was kind of exhausted on trying to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
And so I stayed out late. I was partying, hanging out with, I guess, folks I probably shouldn't have been. And I also had a chance to travel the world at a young age through shooting and the teams and whatnot. And I guess I more or less just kind of grew up fast. And
so what drew you into shooting?
So my stepdad had a gun club in the Conroe area back in the 70s.
Okay.
My stepbrother was an All-American skeet and trap shooter. My dad was an All-American trap and skeet shooter. So I was more or less kind of, I guess in a sense, born into it.
Yep.
But and also my grandfather was a big-time hunter. And I say was, still is.
Okay.
And he's one of my absolute role models. Just a strong Christian man, and he's just an old ranch hand and cattle guy, just salt of the earth. So.
And where would they hunt, and what would they hunt?
Just mainly deer and pigs and stuff like that. It wasn't anything.
Papa would shoot anything that moved.
Yeah.
And then he'd get the little grin.
It's funny you mentioned pigs because I grew up on a farm, and it's like, we weren't allowed to shoot pigs.
Well, no, it was.
I know you guys
these
have
are
wild hogs.
feral hogs, big.
And they're in
mean
Conroe because I have a friend that lives there. She was showing me pictures like all over the woodlands and Conroe.
Here in Texas, it's a real problem, especially for there's guys who make a great living just in the fight against feral hogs.
Wow.
It's actually that bad. But so yeah. Anyway, grew up in a hunting background, outdoor background, hunting, fishing a lot with my grandfather. My dad was a competitive clay shooter, and whenever I was about 12 years old, I guess, I started tagging along with my dad to these events.
Okay.
And he really did an incredible job getting me into it because he kind of planted that seed and watered it every time I went with him. Like, you want to try this one day? Yeah, I'd love to. He's like, yeah, maybe next time. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, please, Dad. Okay, all right. Well, if you do that, I'll let you shoot box shells at the end of the day. Yes. All right. So let me shoot a box, and then just so every time watered that seed, and then to the point where he knew that I had the drive, and the heart to really work hard at it, and not just take it as like, just a playtime at the end of the day. That I really wanted it.
Yeah.
And kind of instilled that competitive drive in me at a young age, and it just sprouted from there. And one of his friends and almost like a family member to me, Dan Carlisle, he passed me along to Dan. Dan's been my coach ever since.
Okay.
Just all the friends and amazing people throughout that route has kind of taken me under their wing. One of them being her dad.
Yeah, that's actually how we met, was shooting.
Okay.
Yeah, Catherine's dad started sponsoring me with ammo.
So girls can shoot too?
Girls can shoot.
Oh my gosh, girls can shoot. This is amazing.
Be
I
careful,
didn't
they
know.
can outshoot you sometimes
I'm sure
too.
they can. I'm sure they could. I'm sure she could.
So yeah, it was really, really awesome. I mean, so I had lots of mentors between you know, both my dads, my grandpa, her dad, my coach, and another guy here in the area, Craig Hill. Same type thing. They just all so more or less in a sense. Although, you know, at this point in life, I can see, you know, that we have our Heavenly Father, and then I have a whole other list of awesome worldly fathers too. That have a lot of people that have kind of, you know, kept me on the path. Even though whenever I got way off in the grass over here, you know, they kind of got me back in. So it's a pretty cool transformation, you know, through life to not see that at certain points, but realize now looking back that I did have that much support. And whatnot. So that's a long-winded answer. I had to get started shooting, but that's kind of been my life. So it's like
absolutely. You spend a couple hours a month on shooting, probably, don't you?
I literally, it's you know, I don't want to direct it all at shooting has opened the door, but the Lord's blessed me with a cool talent that He's kind of molded ever since I was, you know, an itty bitty baby.
Yep.
And then through that instillment, he's brought fruit. You know, my family, my wife, my daughter, my awesome in-laws. I mean, I don't, you know, say that to be a cheese ball or anything like that, but really, you know, my father-in-law owns a gun club. That is awesome. So,
it is.
My wife hunts and shoots.
Yes. I think that's the most special thing that I've seen is that if you can find a husband and wife that can do something that they enjoy together, then oh my gosh, that's almost heaven.
It is, but when hunting, you can't shoot usually two animals at the same time. So who gets to shoot what first? So it's been
We had some marital disagreements on like who gets to shoot first.
Okay.
I've been smacked a couple times for shooting her bird.
Okay.
You know. I give her about 2 seconds, and then hey.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. It was tough when we had Claire because we always hunted together, day and night, weeks at a time. Like we were in it to win it. And when we had Claire, you know, who stayed home with the baby and who got to hunt. Yeah. And that was a fun season to kind of navigate through. And now she's awesome and likes to go. So.
Yep. Cool. So, so how old were you guys when you guys met?
I was probably 15, and you were 12.
Yeah, about 12.
Oh wow. Okay. And then how long before you guys got married?
You were 25.
Oh man, I don't know.
2012. So whatever
Yes.
the math is on that.
Okay.
That's when we got married.
So 8 years ago. Yeah. Okay. And did you guys go to college? And
We actually, so we grew up shooting together. So, and mostly when we would see each other is either whether we were being co-coached, I guess, by Dan or my dad, or kind of that situation, or at a tournament. So that's kind of when we would see each other regularly or practice, whatever. And then, I guess, and always were kind of close.
Pause for a second. So her dad, you know, like I said, he has been always a big mentor of mine. And you know, my buddy's daughter, strictly off limits. So I just always kind of had the big, you know, on her. You know, it's like, you know, the little schoolboy crush just never threw a log in the fire on that, just because it's like, you know, her dad would, he's not the guy that would just shoot you. He will cut you into tiny pieces. And
Yeah, very Italian.
So yeah, I just never said anything. I always kept my mouth shut and was always just very
And it was so
quiet
fun.
and respectful.
Since my dad was his sponsor, he honors people that choose to help him. Like he's just so wholehearted in that. And I was starting to shoot, and he had given me a shotgun when I was about 14, and so I started to get into it before he did. And I'd always said when I was little, the first man to buy me a gun, I'll marry.
Really?
Really shallow standards, but that was it. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're getting married.
I had a
So
Browning
he was my
sponsorship.
first. He was like my first big crush,
Okay.
like ever
Okay.
in life.
Well, I was just gonna say I had a Browning sponsorship, but the gun that I was shooting at the time, I shot so much it kept breaking. So her dad and Craig actually went up here at this gun club back before father-in-law was a partner in it, and bought me a gun so I could continue practicing and prepare for this event. And I held on to it.
Okay.
And then whenever she needed a gun, I'm like, hey, I've got an extra one. It's actually the one that y'all bought me. So it was pretty cool to kind of re-gift it back to her. And little did I know that she had kind of made that vow.
Okay. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool.
a vow. I made it. Yes.
Sometimes it can be good.
It's a good vow.
Yes.
But yeah, and we, it was so cool. One of my friends, Melody, once we got engaged, had found a note I had wrote her. I was between 12 or 14 at that time, and she kept all of the shoe boxes back and forth, and she found the note and read it at our wedding that said I was going to marry him one day. And it was really cool because, I mean, we coexisted. I mean, we both had boyfriends and girlfriends, and, you know, we're all friends, you know, because we just, I didn't think he had any interest, and I don't know, it was just, we were always in different phases.
So when did you first have interest?
Oh, I'd always had interest, but like I said, I just always just buried it because it, you know, at two different stages. One, it was completely off limits, just out of respect to her dad, and you know, we were at that very awkward age, you know, like, you know, 16-year-old, you know, to what a 13-year-old is just weird. And then likewise at 18. So, but once we were like in our mid-20s and whatnot, I was and still do work in the oil field, and she had just graduated college at A&M, and she was working for
Gig'em. They say Gig'em.
Yes, they do. They do.
Thumb. That's it. But anyway, we were working in the same industry together, and you know, she was the new kid on the block, and you know, we knew each other, and you know, we're you know, I guess family friends for a long time. So we traveled together for quite a bit, and at the time, I was in a pretty bad relationship, and just more or less, you know, that was kind of on its way out, and one night, just I guess maybe had that one cocktail enough to have that courage, and I just went ahead and laid it all on the table.
And?
Well, and I didn't know because he was so drunk. Because this was before, like, we were walking in freedom, mind you. So, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if it's God or Satan. Tell me that in the morning, and then we'll talk. And so it was really cool. He said it exactly word for word, and I was like, so are you still drunk, or? And then I
bottled up for you.
I know, it's so sweet. And so I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I want to talk to you. I have some questions, you know, about this. And she was like, I feel like you're supposed to marry Cory. And I was like, what? Because, like, we're all family friends. Like, she did not know anything. And it was just like, I was just having quiet time, and the Lord told me something special about Cory, and to start praying for him. And I was like, well, that's why I'm calling.
Wow.
So it was just, you know, the Lord is so tender, even when you're not following the way, when you look back, seeing all the ways he really directed and guided us to be together. I'm so thankful for all of that.
It's like the
even when we didn't deserve it, you know.
Like the bumper lanes at a bowling alley, you know, just
Yeah.
Although it's kind of like you get in that gutter for a while and then maybe just bounces out. But either way, yeah. So that's kind of we met at a very young age, but we got to watch each other kind of walk through life all the way up to the point of that confession one night, and then we were married 11 months later or something like that.
Yeah, it was really quick.
All right. I'll take it back to Texas A&M. So a friend of mine, actually she now works for me, invited me to a graduation. It was a couple years ago, and so I went to it, and like there's like tons of people that go there. Well, I'm looking through the names of those that had graduated, and one of them had all three names of my kids.
No way.
Yes, all
Wow.
three. It was, I think they were called something like Austin, or no, I think it was Austin, Ashley, Jordan, and then all three of my kids, and I'm like, I can't believe that.
Wow.
So anyway, that was
That's
fun.
cool.
So let's talk about your walk with the Lord. What was your walk like with the Lord when you got married, and then how has it transgressed from there, or progressed from there?
I think both of us being raised in a Christian atmosphere, we thought we were Christian because we prayed. We knew there was a God. You know, essentially
We
everybody
checked all
knows
the boxes.
Yeah.
We went to church. We you know, occasionally.
Yeah.
You know what, Easter and Christmas.
Yeah. And we loved counseling people and loving on people where they were at. And I think we'd been so hurt by the church that however they would come, we would receive, but we wouldn't pour in love. We would just allow them to be, if that makes sense, and not empower them with truth and knowledge of who they were. And so
it's like hyper non-judgmental to the point of like allowing,
because
like,
we never wanted to steer anybody away from that or break them even more.
Right.
And so when we would have people over or whatever, you know, drinking and parties and all of that, but we were like, oh, but you don't have to drive, you can stay, we'll love on you, we'll cook you breakfast in the morning, like, and we definitely took part in the drinking and all of that, and we just kind of thought that's kind of what you believed in the Lord, and well, you're not getting so drunk, you're just having a few drinks, and or just kind of the lifestyle we were living. And I guess it really got to the point where we had Claire, and we realized our way of parenting was polar opposite. And that's really where we noticed a lot of deep soul wounds come out, because we were parenting and even friending people through hurts, whether it was the church, our parents, friends, family, whatever it is. And so that's really truly where we were like, there's something else. And I had just been randomly ill my whole life and have almost died a few times. Like, you know, it's just so random. And at this point, I was really sick after I had Claire, and I remember being at rock bottom, and I had a migraine hit, and it never went away for 2 years.
Oh my
At that point, like, because I was always, if I was not feeling good or in pain, my mind overpowered that. I knew I wasn't going to die, and I was going to be fine. And so I had a sense of pride too, of like, nothing will get me down. I can go through anything. And when that migraine hit, it attacked my mind. And so that's kind of when I realized 100% there's a spiritual realm that I'm not seeing. It has to be, because I know this can't be God's will. And I used to say it was God's, God has me sick because maybe I'm supposed to love on someone or minister to someone. And I didn't know, you know, and that's right where the enemy wants you to barely know the truth. So that way you're not living in freedom.
Yep, absolutely. So,
and then after that, we just really went on a full-on pursuit. We have some really close friends, Todd and Michelle, that really loved on us and just showed us what true discipleship looks like and who the Lord truly is and the nature of the Father. And that's when we just kind of jumped all in. We were having a ton of marriage problems and just communication things that just we're like, we love each other so much, like, what is going on? And that's really when we started searching out. And instead of me searching the Father to fix him, I searched the Father for me and same for him, because it's an individual walk. Because so many marriages are like, hey, we're going to go to counseling. Can you fix my spouse? And some of the people we had seen in San Diego, she said, are you walking through this because it'd be easier on you for his freedom, or are you wanting to get free? And I was like, And so it's just been such a delicate, tender journey that the Lord has just really held our hands and been so gracious with us. And
because most people in the church were all taught that, well, Christians can't have any demons. So demons can't
Everybody's
speak to us.
perfect in the church. You never have any.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not observing this. I go, about
Don't
50%.
talk about that.
50% of the people are getting divorced, and a lot of them are having fear problems and anger and all this stuff. And I'm like, but we're taught that you can't. So then, like, well, what's the recourse? Well, I guess we have to go to the doctors and then have them try and give us medication. Maybe that'll fix it. But that never gets to the spiritual root. And so when I actually went through and started learning that, I'm like, okay, I saw some dramatic changes in certain people that I prayed for, and I'm like, okay, Christians can be affected by demons. Doesn't mean they're possessed, but they're sure getting thoughts, because it says we're supposed to take every thought captive. And if we don't, then the thoughts take us captive, and we're a mess. And so it's like the enemy doesn't want us to believe that there is an enemy that can affect the Christians. And so that's what helped to launch really the ministry of this Restored Freedom, is saying, listen, let's do this in a normal business-like way, because I'm a business guy, and I'm not crazy, and I'm not weird, and then it can relate to other people that are normal. Like you guys, I think you're normal.
You're normal too.
I like normal people. But it's like there's so many people. You ever watch a movie that had... I always like to be funny too. There's a movie that Young Frankenstein that had Marty Feldman in it, and he goes out to get a brain to put in for Gene Wilder, I think's the guy, and the guy was like Frankenstein when he came out of putting the brain in. He goes, what kind of brains you get? I don't know. I think it was Abby something. He goes, Abby something? What? Abby normal.
Oh, how funny.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. You gave me an abnormal brain.
That's so funny.
But our normals are whatever we grew up to be. You know, whatever our normal is, we
Yes.
think that that's normal for everybody.
Yes.
And then those that are getting hit by thoughts from the enemy based upon the wounds from the past don't know that that's not normal.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, and then there's some people that it was like, what, a year and a half ago, the Lord said, look up how many thoughts a day the average person can have
I
that's
love this.
not
I
gotten
love
free.
that knowledge.
And it was 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day, of which 80% are negative and 95% repetitive. The National Science Foundation did a study in 2005. And I'm like, 50,000? I'm like, how can you even function? And it's like, well, a lot of people can't. They can barely get through the
Yes.
day, and then they can't sleep at night because the thoughts are there, keep churning. And then when you go through forgiveness and repentance and humbling, then it's like, now you take away legal rights of the enemy, you can command them to go, and now you've got peace. And now you can hear your own thoughts and the Lord's thoughts. And if the enemy tries to speak, you can discern it, you can shut it down. So, how did you guys find RTF, Restored to Freedom, and me? Do you remember?
We had, I guess, already had walked through like some deep, I guess they call it deep hurt ministry, because really you're just functioning from hurt, and the enemy lives in that hurt. And so
Yes.
I describe it as it's a big old hole, right? Because when you're hurt, it's a gash, it's like a soul wound.
Yeah.
And if you don't fill it with truth and healing from the Lord biblically, then the enemy hangs out right there. And so you start making decisions from your hurt of trying to
Yes.
protect people because you weren't protected, or whatever
Science
that
calls
is.
it like a coping mechanism. You just
Yeah.
throw dirt on it, and you agree with the lie that
Yes.
your mind's telling you. Oh, well, that's just, I've just had it rough.
Yeah.
You play your own victim card because somebody mistreated me, or I didn't have the best upbringing, or I compare myself to that person, and I'm just not good enough, or whatever it might be. But sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Yeah, and so that's really what was
Good
new.
interruption.
Yes, it was. It was just such a new knowledge for us, and so some of now they're our closest friends. Some of them, Brady and Julie, they just walked through it with us with the heart of the Father. Like, we just let out our junk, and they were like, "Here's truth.
Yeah.
We love you." And it's
Yes.
like, but here's some more junk, and
Yeah.
they're like, "We love you." It was just so cool, just on how they walked through. And then once we got back, there were still some things in our marriage. So once you're totally free, you don't know, you're a different person. You're a new creation in Christ.
Yes.
And when you walk in a new identity, like a familiar lifestyle wants to keep bumping in. And so you're here on this new track, and then you see something familiar, and you're like, new, familiar. And it's like an awkward position. And so within our marriage, that was really hard to navigate. Communication and kind of feelings, and what's the enemy, and what's the Lord, and we were just still hitting a couple of different spots that weren't, I don't think, taken care of, just because we didn't know they were there. And the Lord is just, He gives you what you can handle with Him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I feel like there's a process, and it's not just like boom, right? And I mean, sometimes I don't know if it can or not, but that just wasn't
it's
the
normally
process.
Normally it's a process.
And it was just so nice. It was just so tender, because every process we were able to overcome with the Father, and then just kind of slowly grasp each other's hands and walk through it then together and not separately. And so I guess that's when I had Googled any kind of like deliverance and or healing stuff like that in Houston, which is crazy. And your name popped up. And then when I had called or tried to make an appointment or whatever, you were not in Houston. And so I went back to search it, and it didn't come up. So I was like, oh, Holy Spirit. I knew there was intention for that.
Amazing. Wow.
And so, yeah, it was really
And
cool.
then we went through sessions, and you guys didn't vomit. That's cool.
Yeah, I know. I'd always I'm one of those people. I am so about the supernatural realm. I just I always.
She wants to see.
I want to see
You
it.
wanna
I want
see
to
it?
feel it. Yeah, I want to be free of it.
Well,
I don't care.
I just don't like to see that. It just kind of messes with my normalness.
It's like Ghostbusters.
But
where they
people
at?
do feel lighter. I can't
Yes.
remember. You probably felt
Oh,
lighter
yeah.
and more peace. And
We didn't even
joy.
know almost how to move. And so when that migraine started, it was actually, she's one of the most caring souls, but she's a sacral cranial therapist, and found her through a friend of a friend, and she was working on me, and for the headache, and it started to really help and lift some things. And she would touch different areas and be like, were you hurt here? Did you lose something here? And I was like, what? How do you, like, no? She's like, it's okay if you cry. I'm like, I don't cry. You know, like, who are you? You know? And it was so cool. It was almost like a prophetic massage, if you will.
Okay.
Because it was like the first time where I had really learned, like, the spiritual realm of the physical weight that's on people.
Yes.
And so once I would get, I mean, it would take me a day or two of just feeling lighter after a session with her. And then as soon as, like, walking through it with her, then going back to the Lord, like, strictly, like, okay, God, like, what happened and all of that. But every time it was lighter and lighter, and just each time it was just so much more freeing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've lost 1,000 pounds.
Yep.
It's the coolest feeling. I could leap and skip.
Now, and I'll say this: a lot of times when people go through getting inner healed and delivered, is they feel like there's childlike innocence that comes back.
Yeah.
And they just like want to go out and just have fun, and there's no striving, there's no fighting, there's no arguing. There's just like, oh my gosh, what fun things we're going to do today. Because you guys are both more on the same page, because you're not hearing as many thoughts from the enemy anymore.
Yes.
Because the enemy wants you to strive over everything and make a big deal out of where do you go eat at today.
Yes.
It's like, no, big deal. We're not going to argue over that. That's nothing. So, yeah. Yep. Awesome. So you have more peace, you have more joy, more laughter, more fun. So spiritually, how are you, or is the Lord showing you anything about, like, maybe helping other people in doing this?
I think it's just testimony about, like, I would have been the guy that, like, if I was standing over here and listening to this conversation years ago, I'd be like, you guys are crazy. Spiritual realm, what? Man, y'all are...
Yep.
But after kind of experiencing it and kind of seeing, the stuff that can be broken off, the stuff that, psychologists can say one thing, but whenever you feel something, you can tell the difference. You can see, you can feel, and I guess that's what brings in what is faith and whatnot.
Yeah.
So whenever you start really thinking about all that sort of thing, and you walk through something like that after you've partnered with a bunch of lies, as a child, and you've kind of grown up that way, and you think that that's what's normal, and you think that that's what's society and culture and your upbringing says that's the way life is, and you find out that's a lie. It's like, wow, that's like you said, it does take a big weight off of you. So the difference in now, it's like, man, it's just a lot less tense, a lot less worldly expectations of like, I'm a slave to this, I'm a slave to that, and people can start pickpocketing or picking apart words, like a slave. That's a little extreme. It's like, well, how often do you think about your bank account? How often do you think about, like, your financial goals in life? And it's all worldly. How many worldly hooks do you have in you?
Yeah.
And why? Like, what's so bad about thinking about, man, I just want a happy and healthy family?
Yeah.
You can't buy that.
No. You can't buy peace.
You can't buy peace. You can't buy.
So many people try to.
You can go to the world's nicest, most luxurious resorts. Trust me, I've been there. And you're not going to buy relaxation.
Yeah.
Because you can't buy peace
in your mind and the thoughts, if you have legal rights.
Until you can understand it on a spiritual level, and whether you want to say psychological, go take you some drugs, and think that you're relaxing. As soon as that pill wears off or that drug wears off, it's coming right back.
Yes.
You'd never really fix it. You just put a band-aid
And that's
on
the hardest part we see, and like you're asking about us and what we would do next with that, because we see so many people, and it's different once you've been set free and you truly know the heart of the Father. You don't see them for their issues. What you see is who God created them to be, and how to empower that and break them of the bondage that they're in.
Yep.
So that's been it's been really actually the biggest part with our daughter Claire. She was a very stressed out baby, which I was stressed out my whole pregnancy. I had a fear I was going to lose her every single day. I'd wake up in the night like, she's still moving all the time. And so yeah, she was a real stressed out baby, and night terrors and all of that. And it wasn't until we got set free that we were able to speak over her, but the peace that came out of her and the freedom she got through us getting free and us being able to now raise her the way the Lord says to, and it's just out of love.
Yes.
And
mirroring, what the heart of the Father really is, rather than
and teaching her
you're
spiritual
5
warfare.
years old, you should be at this point, and it's like
we don't
that's
care.
not just love you wherever you're at. And it's not saying be complacent by any means, but
you're just very intentional in posturing your heart to empower them and not put them in a box of, you don't do this, you get spanked. You do this, and that's kind of how we were both raised, and that's what we were doing. And there was no fruit.
No.
And now she's empowered from such a different way. And
she has peace.
She does,
Yes,
and we
love
teach
and
her.
peace-based parenting rather than fear-based parenting.
Yes.
If I screw up, I'm going to get my butt whipped.
Yes.
And that sort of thing. But I guess the cool part about being on your show, what's the fruit that we could give to the audience is that, our pasts, just all the terrible things that we've done and whatnot, that's not really our identity.
Right.
After going through, realizing the heart of the Father, realizing what our real identity is with Him rather than to the world.
Yep.
To where it's like, well, if I start looking at my worldly identity, I could hang on to the shooting championship titles and think I'm some sort of big shot. What's that going to get you? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then we were watching or listening to a message this morning about that, and it's a setup for failure because you're always striving to achieve. You're always striving to achieve.
Because your identity is in what you're doing versus knowing who you are in Christ.
Exactly. And whenever you realize your identity with Him, you can never achieve what He has to give. So that it's like, just be yourself. Be who I made you.
Yeah.
I love you no matter what. And yes, you're gonna screw up.
Yeah.
And I'll correct you. I'm not gonna just whip you with a belt every time either. It's like you learn to hear His voice in a gentle corrective state rather than a condemning, the condemnation, the guilt, the worry, the anxiety. That's all alive from the
Because
enemy.
the enemy would try to tempt you to do something and then blame you afterwards by condemning you after
And he's
you've
the
done
king
it.
of mockery too. It's just like, I'm going to take his voice, I'm going to bend it a little bit, and like you say all the time, Satan's a legalist. He'll take the law and put it against you with that measuring stick just to show you how much you suck.
Yes.
And then whenever you believe that lie, just that one little bit, then that gives fruit to the rest of the lie.
Yes.
So when you can hold that thought captive, cut it off there. And I mean, I guess the long-winded answer to your question is like, that's really what we're here to tell you about. Is just like, we made a large share of mistakes, and we're here to tell you that that's not the end of it. Like he can your sins can be forgiven. You can realize your real identity with Him.
Yep.
And live a fruitful, happy, peaceful life.
Yes.
With joy in your heart, even in these crazy times, and not be so fearful about, oh man, I could catch COVID and die. Well, what happens if so and so wins the presidency? What happens?
Yeah, it's either the Lord or it's not. It doesn't matter race, political party, any kind of background. It's when you're holding every thought captive and making it obedient to Christ, it's what does God say and what doesn't He say?
Yes,
and it's really, really easy to kind of sift out.
And what does He say about that person? Oh, they look so perfect. They go to church every Sunday morning, evening. They're just absolutely perfect.
That was a huge mold we had to break because we love each other so much and we are so happy with each other, and everybody always assumed we had this perfect marriage, and we're like, if we don't, and they're like, you're lying, you're just trying to make us feel good. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
You're always so lovey-dovey.
It was so
You're
bad.
always holding hands and kissy.
And that's why we knew it was so demonic, because we were like, we love each other so much, but what are these issues? Like, why can't we get free of this? So that was a hard thing, like,
that's
for people to realize, like, we're so screwed up, and we're not perfect, and we don't have all the answers.
Have you ever heard, I played a song called Matthew West, Truth Be Told?
I don't know.
I play it.
Yes, I have heard it.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, they're playing on the radio now. They didn't used to play it, and I've been playing it since February. Now they're playing all over America, basically. But there's the words in there. It's like, truth be told, the lie that people believe is like, I gotta be perfect, and that everybody else's life is perfect and mine's not. And when the truth is be told is that the Lord knows the truth, and when we're honest, then we can actually get freed from that.
Yes.
But we want to believe all these lies. We want to act like we're perfect. We want to hide all of our sin. It's like, well, man, the Lord knows all this. Why you just be honest and then take away legal rights and command that enemy to go? So.
And that's been the funnest part of freedom is like not being scared of your junk. You know, like if you know people have questions, we're gonna be very honest. Like,
yeah,
I don't really care. I love people knowing how screwed up I was because that just goes to show like how cool Jesus is that he would even remotely love me still after you know.
Yeah.
So
the cover of my book, I took a picture back in, I don't know, 6 years ago in San Diego, and it's a beautiful, there's a sunset and there's a cross on Restored to Freedom on the book. I don't know if you've ever seen the cover or not. But I did not know this until last year. I did a Facebook Live from there, and I walked all the way down. I was showing the viewers it, and then I came down to where they were surfers. I'm like, oh, let's go to the surfers. So I'm walking over to the surfers, and there's a guy with no clothes on. And I'm like, why is there a guy with no clothes on? I can't show this on Facebook. Okay, I gotta let you guys go. Bye. I found out that it was a nude beach.
oh gosh.
It was the only nude beach in San Diego. And I'm like, it's on the cover of my book. And the Lord just said, yeah, isn't that funny? Because when you
Wow.
get delivered and you're set free, you don't care who knows your junk.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, how funny is that? So, crazy.
Nude beaches and Jesus, you know. Whatever.
All right, let's do some shooting. Because I hear some shooting going on, and I know that probably gives you some adrenaline rush, right? Both you guys, right?
You know, I'll be completely honest. It's funny because some people are like, oh, what? They're shooting around here.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of like hearing the leaves rustle to me. it's like just hearing the breeze. It's like I could hang a hammock up right here and take a nice nap.
However, if there was like an animal walking by or a bird flying by, we'll be like,
yes.
let's go.
Time to kill.
We on it.
All righty.
Now we can do a little bit of shooting.
Yeah, let's do some shooting. All righty.
So we get some. I don't think I've got enough earpiece latches.
Okay, here we go. We're back. I'm going to pull this out. And I'm going to flip this around. There we go.
You want your
Nah.
You'll definitely want it.
Will I?
It's pretty loud.
All right.
This tin.
Wow, these are
So we
things I'm going to stick in my ear.
We actually tell all new parents about this because
Okay.
they're actually like the wax earplugs that you swim with.
Okay.
But like whether it's a loud concert, church service, or
Yeah.
a gun range, they have these huge earmuffs on babies or
Okay.
kids.
Uh-huh.
And they're so uncomfortable. So these wax, they don't come out. They
Okay.
stick right in. So
Yeah.
the decibel protection is higher than the earmuffs.
Okay.
But we love,
It's
we
not
love
a.
them
You
too.
don't always have to wear a vest, but it sure helps sometimes.
Okay.
All right. See if I can find. See, we got all of these things. You know, just like a golfer has all kinds of cool stuff. with a
Yep.
golf bag.
Yep.
I got all these different lens colors.
Okay. Cool.
All kinds of cool stuff in here. Each one of these different lens colors is set for a different background during the tournament. You know, so if I'm in the woods, that's a good color.
Okay.
If I'm out in the bright, clear blue, beautiful sunshine, I want to use this guy right here.
Okay.
It's a little bit darker, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of what's going on right here. It's just these are made by Pila
All right.
out of Italy. So Italians can build some good glasses.
Okay.
Cars, I don't know, but shotguns, I don't know. The Germans.
Well, I'm German, Schuman.
I know. Right? Me too.
Cool.
We get a couple people
I
fired up.
was actually told I was Jewish German because I have one N in Schuman, and I guess full-blown Germans have two. So I'm like, that's
This is
interesting.
my competition gun. It's a Blaser F3.
Okay.
Custom stock, rhino porting, chokes, all that good stuff.
All right.
All right, babe, you got the remote? So I don't know which machine is which, but we got 4 traps. 1, 2, 3, 4. They all are just kind of landing out here in the middle, hopefully. Oh! Let's see. All right, that's a warm-up shot.
All right.
Okay, so that's one. Let's see one again. Pull.
Got it.
2. Pull.
Got it.
I'll tell you what, Nelson, if you want, let me get over here, and that way you can kind of get over my,
Oh, okay. All right.
shoulder.
Yeah. All right.
You can kind of see down the end of the gun barrel.
Okay. All right.
And with the target.
Yeah. All right.
Just as you kind of pan along with the
Yeah.
shooting target.
Okay.
Number 3, pull. And then let's see, number 4, he's coming in almost right at it. You see him in the camera?
Yep. Got it.
He doesn't work here anymore. How about a, let's see, that 4 and then a 1. Number 1.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, 4 then 1. Pull.
You got them all.
Got them all.
Dang.
Too bad we can't eat these things, right? How about do a true pair 1 and then 4 whenever I say pull. I'll throw them both at the same time. Pull.
Did it not work?
Nope.
Okay.
Pull. There we go. Now, what do you think? Anything you want to see, Nelson? Some dragonflies flying around.
Can you shoot around the back?
That?
I said, can you shoot around the back?
Yeah, we'll try. I don't know if I can do around the back. Let me see what I can do. We'll try some hip shooting. Can you tell me just the 4?
Okay.
All right, let's see the 4.
Cool.
Pull. Can you see if I can actually hit it?
Oh, you got it. Cool.
See if I can hit it on the first shot. Before you pull. On in. You don't have to aim. Alright, we'll try one of these.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta get sighted in. Somebody bumped my scope.
Uh-huh.
Alright, try it again. Oh no, it stopped. How about a 3? Let's try that one. Pull. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's pull.
You want to do 2?
No, let's try the 2 again. Pull. Just over. Are you messing with my gun?
She said, does he throw the shells in the water? Yes. There they are.
I'll go pick them up if you want. Because what they do is they go over that way and then we
Okay.
pick them all up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can actually recycle the plastic in the holes too.
Oh, really?
Let's see, what's 2 doing?
Got it.
Try that one again. Number 2, pull. There. Here, I'll throw these in the trash can.
So do you shoot this as well?
Not that same gun. I
No.
shoot a Blaser F16.
Okay. Very
that's
cool.
pretty much it.
All
This
righty.
is just out here at the game dock, but the sporting place courses are that way and that way. What you're hearing is the rifle and pistol line down there. All those cars
Uh-huh.
are signed up to shoot.
So how many people a day, like on a typical, like today, would come through
They're
here?
closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, so today everybody's kind of fresh out, ready to
Okay.
burn some gunpowder.
Okay.
And a lot of it just depends on the weather. I mean, it's
Uh-huh.
kind of like golf. You never really know. You know, sometimes today's just there's no special event going on. It's just
Yeah.
another Wednesday, but we got
Uh-huh.
beautiful temperatures and skies, so
Yep.
everybody's out just having a good time.
Yep.
I would
say maybe
say
100?
pre-COVID, sporting clays and clay target shooting is one of like the more popular fundraising events here in the Southeast now.
Okay.
At its peak, this club was averaging roughly, I don't know, I think the statistic was like 9 corporate events a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty neat. And
Wow.
I don't have an accurate statistic, but I would say conservatively, just at this venue alone, over like several $1 million a year is raised
Yeah.
Wow.
for charities.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
Of all different walks.
Wow.
Whether, United Way,
Every
some other big
charity,
ones? I mean,
yeah. It's either that or a golf tournament.
just our little charity shoot, which is called the Kruse Classic. You can find it on Facebook as well. You know, we have our event out here in February, and we raise funds for the Children's Transplant Initiative.
Okay.
And just in 2 years of being here, we're nearly at $500,000 raised just for our little charity. We have less than 300 people attend. So
Wow.
good events. Good.
Wow.
If anybody's looking for a fundraising venue or ideas, call American Shooting Centers. They can definitely, walk you through that because it's part of what they do.
Yep. Awesome. So I see a big bird over there flying.
Yeah.
We can't shoot those.
You can't shoot those?
I mean, you can. You just might go
You
to jail.
can't. It should not be on. Well, you should just not do it.
You should not do it. Okay.
It's a buzzard.
I mean, you can do anything you want. Just the consequence of it might not be what you want.
Awesome. All righty. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And what final words from both you guys? What would you say to people?
I mean, just keep your hope up. Keep your spirits up.
Yeah.
And don't let the enemy lie about your identity. If you don't know your identity, look it up in the Bible. It is the living word, and He speaks directly to you, your name, and hold every thought captive and make it obedient. We have the power and authority. Live like Jesus died for us.
And
Amen.
if you're struggling understanding it, I got a East Texas public school education. I can't hardly
And reach
sit down
out to
and
us.
read.
We're happy to talk to
Yep.
anybody.
Yep.
Call Nelson. Reach out, ask questions. Don't
Yes, ask
hide
questions.
shame or guilt because you can't understand it. Like, ask a question.
And how can people contact you if they want to reach out to you?
Look us up on Facebook. Send us Facebook, Instagram. Send us a message, and we'll respond.
Okay. All righty. How about a final kiss? A farewell kiss.
Oh.
Awesome.
We got a little
Yay.
PG for everybody.
All righty. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.